How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Perfect Reload Weekly, where we take a look back at the week in video game news. My name is Steve, and I am joined, as always, by one Christian Slater. Christian, I shudder to ask, but how you doing this week, man?
I can't believe someone left a comment on this urine-soaked hellhole of a channel that they thought you were funny. What's funny is a sad, lonely man watching his cowboy show at 1 a.m. cheering when people get arrested.
Thank you. I do cheer when they get arrested on that show because they are bad people. And don't make fun of me for watching my cowboy shows. All I have are my stories. Kind of a big week in video games this week for a number of reasons, which we'll get into in the news. But Grand Theft Auto 6 officially announced record-breaking trailer over on YouTube. It's a little bit of controversy surrounding it because it ended up getting leaked, so it came out the night before, and it was a whole thing, but we'll get into that. And also the Game Awards happened this week, and so we'll talk about the announcements there and some kind of overall thoughts. And then on the channel this week, I also want to thank everybody for checking out that Baldur's Gate short that I put up. It is by far the most viewed video I have done on the channel. I ended up grabbing a handful of new subscribers. So if you are new here, thanks for hanging out. You will be severely disappointed. But let's get into what I played this week. I mentioned last week that last week's goal was to play as much Phantom Liberty as possible before the end of the year. This week's goal was to do the same with Alan Wake 2. So we are going to talk a little bit about Alan Wake 2. I love the game. I really do. I didn't think I was going to. I'm not traditionally a horror gamer. I enjoy horror movies, horror literature from time to time. I've read a handful of horror novels and short stories that I have enjoyed, but horror games and I don't necessarily get along. I think for the most part, it's a heavy reliance on jump scares, and I don't like being scared. I am never going to be the type of person that goes to like a haunted house or anything like that. I don't enjoy being scared. So I've kind of shied away from horror games, but I realize that I am probably missing out on some very good games by choosing not to play them. So last year I played The Quarry and quite enjoyed it, one of my favorite releases of last year. And this year I was on the fence with Alan Wake 2 because I didn't particularly care for the first one. I did play a little bit of it when it came out. I know what happened. I read some recaps and stuff like that, and I just didn't know, but I decided, I got to try the game out. So when it came out, I put a video up on the channel and talked about it and all that. And then it just kind of fell off. There was other stuff that came out that I was trying to get through, and just, was just sort of bad timing. It was also struggling to run a little bit on my PC. I wish I maybe would have played it on Xbox or PlayStation 5 instead. But I was like, I really just want to see more of this. And the more I heard other people talk about it and saying like, once you get a few hours in and stuff starts kind of dominoing, it's one thing after another, like you're going to not be able to pull yourself away from it. And that's kind of where I'm at, where I am fighting against the game. I don't particularly like the way the game plays. I think it is a little bit clunky. Some of that, in fairness to the game, may be some of the performance issues I've been having on PC. Although when I was playing it earlier today, actually no issues whatsoever. I don't know if maybe there was a patch or something and I was unaware of it, but everything was pretty smooth when I was playing earlier. So maybe some things have been fixed along the way. I know they have a big update coming out. The day that you're watching this, I believe, is when it's coming out. That's adding New Game Plus, maybe something else. I can't remember. They announced it at the Game Awards very briefly. But I am pretty hooked into the story of this game. I am really, really enjoying it. I think that it is, it's a lot of fun. It is definitely kind of on the campy side, and definitely kind of on this writing is maybe not the best writing in the world, but it is a lot of fun. I think the character of Alan Wake has been a real treat. I think visually the game is, I don't know if I would say second to none, because there are some really, really nice looking games, especially games that came out this year to compare it to. Phantom Liberty and the whole Cyberpunk kind of 2.0 overhaul with the psycho tuning and all that. I think, Spider-Man 2 is super smooth, especially if you're able to run it in the 40 hertz mode and all that. So there is competition, but it is, these games are starting to kind of become in a class of their own. And I think Alan Wake is right up there. As someone who is a big sucker for FMV games, I profess my love for them time and time again. The use of FMV in this game, I think, is super, super creative. I am really enjoying what they're doing. This is a game where it's not just a graphical showcase. Like if somebody said, like, show me a game that looks really good, it is an art showcase. It is a style showcase. It is a creative use of different mediums within a video game showcase. It is something really, really special, and it stands out on its own away from everything else this year because, when you talk about Cyberpunk and Spider-Man as the other games that look really damn good this year, they are traditional 3D rendered video games. They don't really reinvent the wheel. Like they are doing some, cutting edge technology stuff. Absolutely. But Alan Wake mixing different mediums together, in real time, even it's not just cutscenes. There are FMV sequences that happen that are blending as you are controlling the character. And I know Abduction did that, the game from the Rand brothers that made Myst, but not quite in the way that Alan Wake is doing. That was more so you could control the character while a screen was playing FMV. And we have seen that before in games. This is like the characters are being projected into the world in a way. The character that Sam Lake, the director of the game, plays, Agent Casey, there are times where you can trigger this echo effect, and he will appear in the game. And at first I was like, is that a CG model? Is it him rendered or is it not? Like, oh, it is. I think that is FMV. Oh, that's crazy. And then there's a really smart cut in a scene a few hours into the game where you are seeing the characters as FMV, the actual actors. And then it does that old kind of standard cut thing where, it's meant to look like one long cut, but it'll be like a pillar in the room will cut across the screen. And that's obviously where your editor is cutting, either for another take or for whatever the reason may be. And when it cuts and it comes back, you're in a fully rendered 3D cutscene in the game. And then that seamlessly transitions into gameplay. So it's not just the graphical stuff they're doing, it's the presentation stuff that they are doing, that you get a taste of it within the first couple hours of the game, but I didn't necessarily get enough of it until I started over the past few days, like powering through playing more of the game and really seeing what they have to offer. Like I said, though, I am still struggling with the way the game actually plays. Combat for the most part's okay. Firing your gun, using your flashlight, like all that stuff's okay, but there's a lot of backtracking in the game, a lot of puzzle solving that I'm just personally not good at. And it's getting to the point where it's like, I want to finish this game, but do I really want to put up with playing it? And it may be one of these things where I end up not finishing playing the game and I just go and kind of watch the rest of the game. I think that may end up happening for two reasons. One, time, and also just like, I'm not having a good time with the puzzle solving. Like, I love this game. This game is amazing. It's one of the best games that came out this year, but it has just this thing that just doesn't blend with what I like to do as a video game player. I've mentioned it before, and I know a lot of people maybe kind of scoff at this, but I play everything on easy. Video games are a recreational activity for me. They are not, I am not trying to be super serious professional gamer. I'm not necessarily looking for a challenge when I play a video game. I just want to have a good time and have a story told to me. Sure, are there games that I play on harder modes? Absolutely. But for narrative games, story-based games, your traditional action-adventure game, I just kind of want to get through it, experience the story, have some fun playing it, and that's kind of my thing. I don't like being stuck. I don't like feeling lost. There maybe only once I felt lost in Alan Wake 2. The map system is pretty good. You have a map. And also, the map makes things seem a lot bigger than they actually are, especially when you're back in the woods with Saga. You'll look at the map, you're like, oh man, I gotta go all the way from here to there. And then you realize, like, it's actually only like 30 seconds of moving. Like, that's actually not that bad. So I haven't had that issue with getting lost, but there's definitely some backtracking stuff, some puzzle solving stuff, especially once Alan starts having the thing where you can steal the light from one place and use it in another place. There was a couple of times where I was just like banging my head against the wall, like I truly do not know what I'm supposed to do here, and had to go to a guide for help, and that's just like, that's just kind of ruining my enjoyment of the game. Like I said, I'm just, some people love that challenge. More power to you. Go play those games on the hardest mode. Have a blast. That's what's fun for you. It's just not what's fun for me. Everybody plays games differently. But I am really enjoying Alan Wake 2, and I am glad I was able to play enough of it before we do our end of the year award stuff, because, spoiler alert, it appears in our end of the year award stuff here on the channel that's coming out this coming week, or this week. It's coming out on Friday, which we'll talk about at the end of the show. But it's it's a truly amazing game. If you are like me, who maybe doesn't necessarily like horror games, still give it a shot. If you didn't play the first game, still give it a shot, with that asterisk of going online and looking at a recap. There's a recap from the man himself, Sam Lake, that directed the game, that breaks down all of Alan Wake stuff, from the original game to the DLCs to his involvement in the Control universe. All of that stuff gets broken down, and it's a pretty good recap to get you up to speed for this game. That's what I did, and that's what I definitely suggest for everybody that's thinking about getting this, because it really is. It's one of the best experiences of the year, and it really also kind of shone a light on. I wish I would have had time to do this earlier. We're devoting like an entire week of playing games to like particular games that get caught up, because I would have liked to have done that for Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely kind of reaching a fever pitch in the back of my head of, hey, you really need to play more of that game. And I assume over the next couple of weeks that's going to happen. I don't know why you would, but Christian, you have anything to add for Alan Wake before we move on?
Please stop making me watch this game. It's a little too spooky for me. I gotta be honest. Isn't it like Christmas time? Why are we watching cops fight demons and not eating glazed hams?
I'm all for glazed ham. Glazed ham is good, but no one's forcing you to watch anything. You like to come on the show and say that you hate me, but if I don't include you in things, you get all mopey and float around waiting for me to include you in my activity, so I don't want to hear it, man. Next up is the game that I said I was going to stop talking about, but then I kind of forgot that Season 1 was coming out. That is Modern Warfare 3. I am enjoying this game. It's so weird to see how many people just are not having a good time with this game. Maybe Call of Duty is maybe you just need to move on to another shooter. Hey, the finals just came out. Maybe check that out instead. But I am really, really enjoying Modern Warfare, and I'm really enjoying Season 1. I actually ended up getting the Battle Pass. I wasn't planning on spending any money on it, but I had actually earned enough of the COD coins or COD points or whatever they call them that I could just get the basic Battle Pass using the in-game currency that I had earned through unlocking stuff. So I ended up doing that. I think the new maps, I still have yet to play Greece. One of the two new maps, the two maps that are in right now, there's another map coming along mid-season, but the two maps that are in right now, Greece and Meat. Meat currently is on a 24/7 playlist, so I have played that several times at this point. Even if I'm not just in the 24/7 playlist itself, and I'm just playing my regular hardcore matches, it's still filtering in quite a bit. But I have played dozens of matches since the season came out, and still have not played on Greece, which I guess if that is not rectified within the next few days, they are putting in a Greece 24/7 playlist coming up. So I guess I can check it out there. But I think, in terms of people that like Rust and Shipment, Meat is another very small form factor map. I think it is fantastic. I think there are definitely times where you're getting spawn trapped a little bit. The spawns aren't super great. Definitely spawned right in front of an enemy a few times. But it's also, you know what you're signing up for when you're playing a modern Call of Duty on those super small maps. It is pure chaos. But I really think it's a really smartly laid out map, a lot of fun for domination, and a lot of fun just in general for team deathmatch or kill confirmed or whatever it may be that you're playing. I've hit max levels, so now I'm leveling up even further into the first prestige with the new season and unlocking some stuff. I'm in the process of kind of unlocking some of the new guns. I'm kind of like focusing a little bit on unlocking new guns, but also just doing the camo challenges for the guns that are already available in the game. I've gotten several golds at this point, and I really enjoy the kind of the array of new weapons that are specifically for Modern Warfare 3. Because all the Modern Warfare 2 guns are in the game as well, but they're a little bit nerfed, so I haven't been touching them. But I've only found maybe one or two of the Modern Warfare 3 weapons that I don't like using, and that's pretty good. Usually it's a lot more. I kind of settle into just my standard run of guns, but I have enjoyed having a little bit of variety with things, and yeah, just having a good time. And their Christmas event is coming up soon, which I always really love playing. It looks like they are going back to the Krampus thing, although it's going to be Santa Claus instead of Krampus. If you remember a few years ago, they did the event where you would play on a Christmas theme of shipment, and every so often Krampus would spawn into the game. You could try and kill him, but he took like 1,000,000 bullets to do it, and he could kill you in one hit. It looks like they are doing that with like an evil Santa Claus. It looks almost like that Santa Claus movie that came out with David Harbour last year. In a way, it looks kind of similar to that. So, that's not my favorite thing. I prefer not to have like a super powerful enemy, like a neutral, independent enemy spawn in while you're playing the game. But I had some fun doing it the last time around. I'm sure I'll have some fun this time. But yeah, Modern Warfare 3 still chugging along at that. And then the last game I'm going to talk about, I was planning on having a video up for this, and this was Against the Storm, which is a city builder that just came out, exited early access, available on Game Pass for PC, not for console, but for PC. And I was like, well, we've been playing a lot of city builders this year. We just talked about SteamWorld Build, and two of my favorite games of this year were City Builders and Terrascape and Terra Nil. So I was kind of all in on Against the Storm. And I was like, well, let me load up the game and go through the tutorial. And then once I finish the tutorial, I'll start filming and record a video. And I got not that long into that game, maybe 5 or 6 minutes before I realized, like, this is not the kind of game that is going to make good video content. If my whole channel was about city builders and I was getting super in depth about strategies and build orders and stuff like that, sure, I could certainly make a compelling video, but that's not what this channel is. In short form, 20 to 45 minute content, which is typically what I do for new game releases, it was not going to come across for a multitude of reasons. The tutorial support in that game, I think, is fairly weak for a city builder. City builders can be very complex, and you kind of need them to hold your hand a little bit, especially if it's a game you've never played that has its own twist on things. And I think that you kind of need that, and this game just doesn't have it. Some of the text super small on the screen, so you're not going to be able to see it when you're watching along, even if you're watching like full screen on a TV or a computer or something like that, let alone a phone. And I just realized, like, I think I'm going to keep playing this game for a little bit, but this is not going to work for a video. So that ultimately did not come out because I wasn't going to put out something that just wasn't interesting to watch. My thoughts on the game as a whole, I think it's neat. I think it's kind of a little twist with the roguelike thing. I don't think it's as good as the other kind of big city builder games that have come out this year. There's not enough to hold me personally, especially because it has that fantasy twist on it. There's like animal people and all that stuff. It's just not my genre, not my aesthetic pleasure to see. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm just not a big fantasy fan. So it just doesn't kind of hold me in. As I was playing it, I was like, man, I think honestly I would just rather be playing SteamWorld Build right now, or I would just rather go back to Terrascape or Terra Nil, or even play some more of City Skylines 2 as that game is kind of sorting itself out. So I can't say that I recommend it, because I just personally didn't find enough there for me, but it is a competently made game. It's not a poorly made game by any stretch of the imagination. It seems very nice, or very, very well put together. If you kind of know what you're getting into and you're okay with not having that hand holding and that tutorialization in it, it does give you a little bit of a tutorial telling you kind of what to do. But I ran into a couple times where I accidentally closed something without realizing it, and I couldn't figure out how to get that next like instruction for what I need to do. And that was kind of annoying. But, I would say watch some trailers, maybe watch somebody else have some gameplay of it, somebody that's really super into the game and they can explain things better than I would be able to explain things, and kind of go from there, especially because it is on Game Pass for PC. So you can check it out at no additional financial cost to you outside of your subscription. So that was pretty much everything that I played this week. I don't know what I'm going to be playing this coming week. Maybe I will settle into some Baldur's Gate 3 or try and wrap up Alan Wake 2 in one form or another, or catch up on some RoboCop Rogue City or something like that. I still have more Phantom Liberty to play. I didn't finish it. I just tried to play as much of it as I could. So it's definitely kind of catch-up mode. There's a couple of things coming out. Let's look at our list real quick before we head over to the news, because I have been updating my list as we have gotten a better idea of what's coming out in January and February. Yes. Okay. So we will be covering the finals this week because that is out now. So there will be a video about the finals coming out. Looks like House Flipper 2 is coming out on Thursday. So maybe we'll have something for that. And then after that, there is nothing until January 18th when Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown comes out. So we're going to have a good month of really nothing happening. So it's going to be a lot of catch up and probably a little bit more focus on the news on this show than what I've been playing, because at that point, I'm probably just going to be into my routine of playing the same games, trying to push through and playing a lot of Call of Duty stuff like that. And, I don't want to bore everybody with talk about the same stuff every week. So, maybe I'll try and mess around with some stuff. I've been playing around with some older games. Like I said, last week I played a little bit of The Witcher 3. Out of pure curiosity, because I never touched the game before, I played a little bit of Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen this week. I don't think that game is for me. But I was just very curious because I know it has like a cult following, and obviously the sequel got announced and is coming out. So I was just like, hey, it's on PlayStation Plus. Why don't I download it and mess around with it? Played it for about an hour, and I was like, I just don't think this is my thing. But maybe I'll find something that's a little bit older that catches on, and we can have a talk about it. But other than that, that's going to do it for what I've been playing, and we'll be back in just a moment with the news. All right, we are back with the news, and we are going to start off with the biggest story in video games, perhaps the biggest story in video games all year. Grand Theft Auto 6 has officially been announced for a 2025 release. I know a lot of people were hoping for next year. I personally was also hoping for next year, but hey, if it was going to end up being next year and just getting delayed until 2025 anyways, what's really the difference? So I hope that we just all make it to 2025. As I was after the doing my video for the reaction to the trailer, which I'm very sorry I had to edit out the actual trailer from that video, but it was either that or just not have the video go up at all. I was actually really surprised. YouTube support actually reached out to me and talked to me about it. I was pretty surprised, being such a small channel, that they did, but they also didn't really like the fact when I said, hey, what do you think my realistic chances of winning this dispute are? They did not have anything to say in response to that. So, but after that trailer was done, I looked at my dog and I was like, all right, we got to make it until at least 2025, man. Like we got to, we got to go. So the trailer ended up coming out early. It was supposed to come out on Tuesday, and I was like, oh, Tuesday was my birthday. This would be a nice little birthday gift to me. And then no, those fucking leakers had to ruin it, and it got leaked the night before. It ended up getting posted on TikTok with some cryptocurrency advertisement attached to it. And I'm not exactly sure what time it was. I was eating dinner when it came out, so it would have been somewhere between 6 and 7 p.m. And it came out, and I was eating dinner, backed out of the YouTube video I was watching, and saw a bunch of live streams reacting to the trailer. IGN had already uploaded the trailer. I was like, oh, I guess we gotta go make this video. And so, Rockstar eventually just came out and said, our trailer has leaked, so please watch the real thing on YouTube, which they posted on Twitter. I know I should say X, but I can't get Twitter out of my head. And I thought the trailer delivered on pretty much everything you would want to see. There are a lot of people wondering, like, oh, was this all in engine? And for at least the last however many games, dating back to Grand Theft Auto 1, aside from some of the live action footage they would put into their commercials, they've all been in-engine trailers. The Red Dead stuff was all in-engine. GTA 5's trailer was all in-engine. I don't see any reason to believe that this wasn't in-engine. And the Digital Foundry guys pretty much agreed with that during their kind of tech breakdown of it. So what you're seeing is legit. There was also like that ex-Rockstar developer that came out and said, like, yeah, even though I don't work there anymore, this is what the game looks like. This is this is accurate. I think that the trailer actually showed more about what you're probably going to be doing in that game than even the Grand Theft Auto 5 trailer did. Because in the Grand Theft Auto 5 trailer, you see parts of missions that you play in the game, like the first heist at the jewelry store, but you don't know that that's what you're looking at until you play the game. Whereas in this game, you very clearly see the two characters driving away, looking back as the cops are chasing them. You see them with bandanas breaking into a store. You see them walking through a liquor store, and then they're counting money in the car. Like, they're obviously on a crime spree. You see all of this social media stuff. Obviously, that's going to be a big part of the game. You see stuff like the Poach guy. I think that's the name of the fake company in the GTA universe. I think it's Poach. I could be wrong. Let me fire up the trailer real quick and see if I can get to that scene. Here it is. Let's see. It is. Oh, come on. Stupid YouTube ad is in my way. It is, yes, Poach. So I imagine that that's going to be one of the side jobs that you could do, is join Poach and wrangle alligators out of people's swimming pools. People are also quick to note that in the official kind of key art for the game, Lucia, we don't know the name of the other character. I think in the leak his name was Jason, but he was not officially named in the trailer, but she is Lucia. She is wearing an ankle monitor in it. So it's very possible that they are going back to the PS2 era of locking you out of parts of the map. Actually, I believe Grand Theft Auto 4 did that as well, whereas GTA 5 did not. You had full reign from the beginning of the game. So it's possible that that's what they're doing. She has an ankle monitor or something, or maybe they just did it to kind of show like, hey, these are criminals. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too on the nose. I'm not quite certain on that, but I think the trailer showed a lot of things to really be excited about. Not just the overall visual look and feel, but just like a way more populated city, more cars, more pedestrians, more body types. There's different kinds of animals than we've seen before. Just a whole bunch of stuff that just kind of whets the appetite enough to really get you thinking about what's going on. There's been a lot of Easter egg breakdowns. A lot of the traditional Grand Theft Auto fake brands have been seen. The cheetah car is back in there. Poach, which is, like I said, which is protection of animals and controlled hunting. Go Postal in there. They finally named their fake Florida. It is Leonida. The drug satire, the Angstapan, it cures emotions, I thought was really good. The money says the United States of Paranoia on it. Weasel News is in there. Pisswasser is in there. Lager Beer is in there. A whole bunch of stuff was shown. So I think for me and for a lot of people, they were kind of curious, like, what is the tone of this next Grand Theft Auto going to be without the kind of creative brain trust at Rockstar? Because Leslie Benzies is gone, Michael Unsworth is gone, Dan Houser is gone, Laszlo is gone, and the Laszlo, Houser, and Unsworth were the writers on the game and really kind of shaped the modern view of that franchise. And I think that it's still a sharp satire. I think that this one, by focusing on the social media stuff, is probably going to be a little bit less dated out the gate than maybe even GTA 5 was. I mentioned this in my trailer reaction video that I think it's smarter for them to focus on people as satire than companies and corporations as satire. I think that it's funnier and more timely to focus on people's behavior than the companies that they interact with on a daily basis. I think it keeps it a little bit fresher. Now, of course, by the time 2025 rolls around, maybe social media is totally different. Maybe TikTok's not a thing anymore. Instagram's not a thing anymore. There's some new app or whatever, and it just feels dated by that. But I think people are still going to be sharing photos and videos online of themselves doing stupid shit every single day. So I don't think we're going to stray too far away from that. But yeah, I am super excited. It's 2025. I mentioned this. I can't remember what. I think it was during the Game Awards stream where I talked about. 2022 was like a really down year for me with video games. It just there weren't releases coming out that really appealed to my taste. The biggest games of last year were just not games that I was interested in playing. Whereas in 2023, the large majority of the biggest games that came out this year, minus probably just Zelda, I not only played, but also really enjoyed. I maybe didn't play as much of them as other people did, like Baldur's Gate 3, but I touched a lot of games this year, and more so than probably any other year previously. And it was just, I truly think that 2023 is one of the best years in video game history. And I get the feeling with where we're at, especially after the Game Awards, where a lot of those announcements were for stuff for 2025 or didn't have a year attached in general. I think 2024 might be a little bit of a quiet year. It's possible. Now, it could be totally wrong, and they start announcing stuff in the spring. Sony does a showcase, Microsoft does a showcase, Nintendo does a direct, whatever it may be. We get a new Switch next year, and there's a new full-blown 3D Mario. That changes the whole landscape of the year entirely. But I think 2025, especially if we get GTA 5 and Wolverine from Insomniac, that's a damn good start to any year right off the bat. So I am eagerly looking forward to GTA, and it's going to be I think it's going to be a special game. The fact that it's breaking records on YouTube for most watched video in the first 24 hours, most watched trailer, all that stuff. Anybody that forgot how big GTA is, they were quickly reminded, in the decade since GTA 5 came out, games like Fortnite have appeared. PUBG went through its whole thing of being the king of games for a little while. Massive games like Apex Legends, Valorant, League of Legends, all this stuff. They've all had their kind of time in the sun. And then, you kind of forget, like, oh, there's that one out there that, is kind of waiting to come out, and then it comes out and it breaks all these records, and everybody's like, I guess Grand Theft Auto is still pretty popular, isn't it? And it's like, yeah, man, it's like the most iconic gaming franchise on earth. Like, you want to talk about games that have a household name? My parents know what Grand Theft Auto is. If my mother could not tell you who the hell Super Mario is, but she knows what Grand Theft Auto is. Like, it is that widespread of a franchise. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all with the reception and reaction to the trailer. It's going to be a good one, I think.
Oh, so I guess Rockstar's just casually committing thought crimes now, and nobody's gonna say a word. They took exactly what plays in my head all day and just called it a trailer.
Yeah, you are like the Florida of robots, so that doesn't really surprise me at all. Let's move over to the Game Awards. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the actual awards itself, because they didn't spend that much time talking about the awards itself. But 30 minutes total out of a 3-hour show that they spent on the awards. They were cutting people off left and right. The people from Larian were talking about a coworker who died, and they're playing the wrap-up music so they can, but it's okay. We got to run that Lego Fortnite commercial 30 times. So I think that was just, the Game Awards were an absolute joke this year. I'm actually I would actually say I'm kind of upset that I wasted my time watching. I could have just watched the trailers the next day, but it is what it is. But let's run down what got announced. I'm just going to pick out the stuff that I find personally interesting or relevant, even if it's not necessarily a game that I'm going to play. They're doing the remake of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I think that's smart after the success of It Takes Two. The next game from the Inscription creator, Daniel Mullins, announced a sequel to a game he had made. I actually wasn't aware of this game. But Pony Island 2, Panda Circus, an absolute bonkers trailer. I would definitely go and check it out. Sequel to Golden Idol, The Case of the Golden Idol, The Rise of the Golden Idol. I think this is 2025, I think they said. I don't think the trailer said, but I think I saw somewhere that said that it's a 2025 game. I really need to go back to The Case of the Golden Idol, because that was a cool game. The next game from the Dead Cells people, Windblown, an animated trailer, so you didn't get to see too much, but there's some outlets that have a preview of the game. Definitely a lot more violent than I had thought, but then it kind of made sense when it came on the screen. It's like, oh, from the people that made Dead Cells. A new game from the Thumper dev called Thrasher. It looks like it's kind of a wand rhythm game following. There's like a dragon that kind of follows along. Crossover between Dredge and Dave the Diver. World of Goo 2 was announced. I am actually pretty excited about World of Goo 2. I loved that first one. Metaphor, Refantasio, the new game from Atlas, got shown off. That looks pretty good. The game that I am personally probably most excited for was Exodus. This is the game that has Matthew McConaughey in it. He was on stage at the Game Awards to talk about it. This is made up of not Bethesda, ex-BioWare devs, people that worked on KOTOR and Baldur's Gate and Jade Empire and the Mass Effect trilogy, including Drew Kapirshin, who wrote a bunch of that stuff, including the Mass Effect novels. I think the gameplay that they showed looked pretty solid. It is definitely Mass Effect. They are talking about like going into these objects and traveling through, like, oh, we used the gates, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's just the relays. Not a game that I play or am interested in, but I think the roguelike DLC for God of War Ragnarok is a really cool thing, especially because it's coming out today, and it is free, so I thought that was pretty cool. Another new trailer for The Lost Crown Prince of Persia. That's the first big game of next year that I'm super excited for. Let's see, Ori, the Ori team, Moon Studios revealed No Rest for the Wicked. Very stylish, nice looking trailer. We'll see how that goes. Probably the second most exciting thing for me personally is the Sega Roundup. They are making a new Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi. That Crazy Taxi does not have Bad Religion in it. I will burn Sonic to the fucking ground. I am really excited to see what they do. I am not super thrilled that it looks like a 3D Golden Axe. I think it would be cooler if they went back to a 2D, because the last 3D Golden Axe was not very good, but the 2D Golden Axes from the 90s are fantastic. The team behind The Quarry, Supermassive Games, announced their next game. It is set in the Dead by Daylight universe. It's a single-player game called The Casting of Frank Stone. I know that they are a multi-game studio, but they kind of do the Dark Pictures anthology, which are the kind of, not, I don't mean to use this as a derogatory term, but it's like the lower effort games, the shorter games, not necessarily the same budget and quality as stuff like Until Dawn and The Quarry. So I was hoping that we would maybe see the next game from them, which this actually may be it. But I was hoping it was going to be an original thing, but it is what it is. New Mana game, Visions of Mana. I loved Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo, so I'm looking forward to that. Probably the one that's getting the most talk is OD, the new horror game from Kojima Productions. He is working with Jordan Peele on it, among other filmmakers. As a collaboration thing, they showed off some well-known actors like Hunter Schafer and Udo Kier being involved in the project. I'll check it out. Jurassic Park Survival, which is like a horror survival game set in the Jurassic Park universe. Black Myth Wukong finally got its release date, August 20th of 2024. That game continues to look really, really good, though I am very worried that it'll be too hard for me to play, but we'll at least try it out, right? Suicide Squad got another trailer. Warframe got some stuff. Don't Nod, who keeps releasing, or both releasing and announcing games, talked about Lost Records, Bloom, and Rage. It looks a lot like a Life is Strange game, and it's coming out late next year, so I am very excited for that, because I really, really enjoy a lot of what Don't Nod does, and I was a very, very big fan of Life is Strange True Colors, but I think that was the other, was that Deck 9 that did that? Because there was the whole, Deck 9 did it, but they essentially make the same kind of style of game. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Maybe one of the more bizarre things, the Apex Legends and Final Fantasy crossover. I was like, oh, okay. Skull and Bones finally got a release date, February 16th, 2024. Beta coming December 15th, this Friday. I still don't think that game is real. Arcane Leon is making a Blade game. It is third person, and it's the Arcane studio that did Deathloop. Lightspeed LA announced this is coming from former Rockstar devs. It actually looked pretty neat, but it was just, CGI kind of stylized trailer. Let's see here. More footage from the Fallout TV show. Hello Games announced their next game after a very long time, a decade plus of working on No Man's Sky. Light No Fire, it looks like it's a very multiplayer focused thing, focusing on a single world instead of many worlds. It looked nice. I thought it looked, pretty solid. Let's see. The finals got announced. It's finally coming out. New Monster Hunter Wilds was announced, and kind of the last thing, which I don't even think this got announced during the show. I think it got announced once it was done. But Baldur's Gate 3 is now available on Xbox console. So we kind of blew through all the stuff there. I think a lot of those trailers were just filler. To be honest, a lot of it was just CGI with no year attached to it, let alone a date. No gameplay, just a logo and some CGI, and I'm getting really sick of seeing that. I really think you gotta stop announcing your game so early. I understand that you want to draw interest, especially if you're an indie dev. You need to drum up, some support, because wish listing on Steam does wonders for indie devs. It really helps Steam kind of push the game and understand, what people are excited about. So I understand that, but I think there are definitely times where we are maybe announcing games still a little bit too early. But, I digress. It's just that's a personal thing. I'm sure there are plenty of people that would very easily explain to me why they are announcing games early, and it would make total sense. I'm not a game developer, so I don't know. I'm sure there are reasons for it. But overall, I think the Game Awards, a little disrespectful. Not a lot of focus on the awards themselves. People getting ushered off the stage. Game categories getting read off like an afterthought so they could fit in more commercials. I think the show ran way too long. They could have trimmed 45 minutes out of that show, to be completely honest. Though the musical performance is really nice. Probably the highlight was the Old Gods of Asgard Alan Wake 2 performance, with everybody up there doing their song and dance. Really, really well done. I go watch the trailers. You don't necessarily need to watch the show, I guess, is kind of the overall feeling on the Game Awards. Maybe they'll take a lot of this feedback to heart and change things up next year. You never know.
Way too long. Yeah. Come on, let people accept their awards, Keely. Someone told me to wrap it up after 30 seconds when I got my Golden Globe. I'd be dunking my Golden Globes all over their corpse.
Sometimes I forget that you actually are an acclaimed actor and have a Golden Globe. It just seems so weird because you're just such a horrible person, but it is what it is. Next up, a little bit of a follow-up. EA Sports College Football is returning, and it is still on track for a 2024 summer release. I didn't realize they actually had another lawsuit going on that could have prevented the game from coming out, but it has all been settled. So it says, despite legal hurdles, EA Sports College Football is still on track for summer's 2024 release after EA Sports settled a lawsuit filed earlier this year regarding the use of players' likenesses, which is ultimately why the series ended, as well as all other NCAA games. This is from Taylor Lyles over at IGN. It says, spotted by sports business outlet On3, the outlet reports that EA Sports reached a settlement agreement last Thursday with One Team Partners and the Brander Group, two agencies specializing in licensing deals for student athletes. In a joint statement, both agencies noted that both had reached an amicable settlement of their past dispute related to college group licensing. The Brander Group filed the lawsuit last June. The agency argued that compensation for student athletes who licensed their likeness for the game was far below market value. On3 reported earlier this summer that a player opted in to have their likeness used in the game. The payout would have been about $500 per player. The last statement here is, we are pleased that Brander has decided to withdraw their claims without any payment from EA. An EA spokesperson told IGN in a statement via email, we've been clear from the beginning that this suit had no merit. Our focus continues to be on directly licensing individual college athlete name and likeness rights through an opt-in program that will give college athletes the choice if they want to be in our game. We're pleased to move on from these claims and look forward to delivering EA Sports College Football in summer 2024. Now, the NIL stuff, the name, image, and likeness stuff in college sports, which allows college athletes to get paid, is new. It's only been in the past couple of years, and we are starting to see, and I'm not going to turn this into a big sports podcast here, but there is a thing in college sports that it was always a thing, and people would take advantage of it, but it wasn't like it is now. and it's called the transfer portal, where if you still had years of eligibility left as a college athlete, you could leave your school, even if you have like a scholarship with them, or, you can leave that school and go play somewhere else. You typically would see this if it was a school that had a lot of, let's say, really good quarterbacks, and you knew that you were just not going to play. You were going to end up graduating as a senior and having never played in a game, so you could go and transfer to maybe a smaller school and actually play. But these days, people can get paid for doing that, and it's created kind of a traditional sports free agency, where there are really big college athletes, like the quarterback from Ohio State, he's entering the transfer portal and will be playing somewhere else next year, and is going to get paid millions to do so. So things are definitely changing with college sports. This whole thing is the reason why we don't have college sports games anymore. I would like to see, I hope the NCAA football is successful next year. I always preferred the way that game played to Madden. You would think that they are both being made by EA Sports and they were both football games, that aside from the rule differences in college football to professional football in America, that they would pretty much be the same game, but they definitely were not. The college game definitely had a lot more care and time and effort put into it. Some really cool modes. If you were doing like the equivalent of a franchise mode, you were recruiting players and you could start at a really small school and work your way up to getting hired at a big school. Just the way the game played, the fluidity of it, just a lot of fun. And I hope they kind of bring that back. I hope that it's not just Madden with a college skin on it. But, I guess we'll wait until summer 2024 to find out. Last up this week is The Last of Us. So there were some preview events that went around, and we got to see what the no return mode is, which is the roguelike mode being added to The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered that is coming out in January on the 19th. There is a Wolf edition of the game that is coming out for $100. Which is a digital, or I'm sorry, no, it's not digital. It's just through PlayStation Direct. I always get that mixed up with the PlayStation Store. It's going to come with some trading cards and a patch and some pins and a steelbook and all that stuff. But this is from Tom Ivan over at VGC. It says, along with a trio of lost levels featuring playable sequences previously cut from the game, single-player roguelike survival mode No Return is one of the headline new features included in the PS5 remaster. Survive as long as you can in each run as you choose your path through a series of randomized encounters featuring different foes and memorable locations throughout Part 2, all culminating in tense boss battles. That's from the official description of the mode. Unique gameplay modifiers can offer new and unexpected challenges as you fight to succeed and survive in a host of different encounter types. You can play as multiple characters like Ellie, Abby, Dina, Jesse, Lev, and Tommy, including more, all in this new mode. So Sony definitely likes their roguelike stuff, because we got the God of War one coming out, and now the Last of Us one coming out. So I don't know, we're gonna get like Uncharted roguelike, or Ghost of Tsushima actually might be like tailor-made for something like this. But I think it's cool that they're not just releasing the game, remastered for the PS5. This is a game that came out only months before the actual PlayStation 5 came out. It was summer 2020, and it was November 2020 when the system came out. So I mean, it's pretty damn close. So I think it's nice that they're adding those lost levels and they're adding this new mode. It gives you a little bit, I guess, of an easier pill to swallow when you're spending full price on this game that you may have already bought and played through. So it's a nice little touch, but. That's going to wrap things up for this week. So what's happening on the show this week? So I'm actually filming this on Saturday night instead of Sunday, because on Sunday we are doing our year-end award stuff. That will be up 9 a.m. on Friday. Friend Davis and I are doing it together. We are going to have our top 10 albums of the year, top 10 songs of the year, our top 10 games of the year, and a list of awards for various categories. It's going to be a fun show, no doubt about it. We're both very much looking forward to it, and I think you'll all really enjoy it. So that will be up on Friday. I'm going to have a video taking a look at the finals up this week. I have not gotten a chance to play the full version yet, so I'm going to play a little bit of it and then and record. That'll probably be up on Tuesday or Wednesday maybe. And then I'm actually going to do a little bit of a different kind of video than I have ever done before, something related to Grand Theft Auto. Definitely hopping on a trend that was popular from a few years ago because I am just really late to the game. But I think it'll... Now, we're going to try it out. Maybe it'll be stupid. I don't know. But yeah, and then I'm still hard at work at the next animated video. Thank you, everybody that checked out the year that was 1999. That video came out this past week. The next animated Perfect Reload video. The reception I got was truly fantastic. Thank you to everybody that watched it, that left a comment, that reached out to me even personally, that said they enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to make, and that is why I already jumped into making working on the next one. And man, that next one is definitely pushing me to my limits with the software I use to animate it, and Premiere choosing not to save things, and it's been a real blast so far. So we'll see how that goes, but that's going to wrap it up for me. Christian, before we go, do you have anything to say to the fine people?
I see you're doing your year-end awards with that weird little goth kid, not me. Whatever, I didn't want to do them anyways. I have way more cool things to do than hang out with a pair of Spencer Gifts rejects.
I don't understand why you think he's goth. He's not. He's a gym bro. Goths don't go to the... Do goths go to the gym at 20? Danzig is buff. Maybe they do. Maybe my perception is all wrong. Maybe my reality is crumbling before me. Is Danzig popular again? Is Generation Z into... Is Gen Z Generation Zandig? We'll see you again real soon.